And then I'm gonna teach you. Anticipation. Oh, that's good. Did the front row get theirs yet?
Well,
Did the front row get copies yet? Is there anybody who doesn't have a copy?
You take one and pass it down.
Take one, pass it down. Okay. Exactly. Okay,
Quick question.
yes,
Is there such a thing as an associate or
yes.
associate spiritual advisor?
Yes, we'll talk about
Is
that.
there enough handouts for that?
Okay, does anybody else need something before we start talking about it? Let's pass it out.
Enough there?
It's yours.
So we can talk about it. Okay, we're going to go through this section by section, and we won't read it to you, you can all read, but we will tell you that as an overview, this was something we compiled. We didn't invent this stuff. Basically, it's gleaned from a variety of Vincentian sources. Okay, some of them are from the Canadian, the American, the British, the international sites. Yeah, yeah, the Aussies, everybody that we could get. By the way, if you have not yet done it, go online and check the websites of these various other countries whose language you can read and write. Anybody whose language you can read and write, you find some really good, interesting stuff. But the international and the Canadian sites are particularly important, and you really should take a look at them. The idea of the book being a simple black binder is that it's a work in progress. It's always going to be a work in progress. We encourage you to take it to your conference, keep it as a reference book, use it and look at it regularly. We hope to, and we will, put out new material. And when we do that, we'll suggest that you put it into the first tab or the third tab or whatever. Sometimes we'll say, okay, you can toss this out, we're going to replace it with something else. That's why the simple black binder, okay? Okay, so we're going to look at, the title just tells you that it was compiled in this year and that it's a collection. Very, very little of it was written by us. So look at the first tab. The first tab is the only part that is a book within a book. It's 10 pages and they're numbered, and it's called Help, My Conference Needs a Spiritual Advisor. This is for presidents. There are a lot of you who put your hands up at your presidents. This is really for presidents who are in that situation of going, oh, I have to get somebody. Who can I get?
Sounds nefarious.
Oh, it is. Who can I get? It's also for spiritual advisors who are saying, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing this right? Am I doing what I should be doing, what I need to be doing? Is there more I could be doing? How can I do this better? Okay, so it's the first part talks about the importance of the spiritual advisor, and it gives you quotes from various important Vincentian sources, or who the spiritual advisor is and what he or she should be doing. The second part, it talks about the rule and the statutes. And it suggests that after a period of invitation, by the way, the rule says the president shall appoint a spiritual advisor. It doesn't say the spiritual advisor is appointed for life, or the spiritual advisor is the pastor who holds on to it till he's dead, or designates someone of his choice. The president shall appoint a spiritual advisor. And there's a reason for that kind of makes sense to me. the president and the spiritual advisor are together responsible for the spiritual growth of the conference or the council. They're responsible for that basic purpose of who we are, an increase in our own holiness. The president and the president needs to choose someone with whom the president can work. I got chosen by Linda Dollard because I met Linda, and she and I sort of hit it off. And she thought that I might be somebody she could work with. And I know that Linda can call me, or I can call Linda, or we can email each other at any time. And we can talk things out, and we can be together. That's really important for a president and a spiritual advisor. So the president shall choose. You need to remember that. I know that some of you are sitting here and you're going, oh yeah, but I inherited this other problem. Okay? I inherited a situation where Father has been the spiritual advisor or has appointed one of his associates or his deacon or his whoever to be the spiritual advisor, and that's the way it's always been done. Well, suggestion, you ask if there's such a thing as an associate spiritual advisor. That's a way of getting around it. If you find yourself in that situation, my suggestion personally to you is go talk to your priest and explain to him that you know how busy he is, that you know he's just been, your parish has just been gathered together, whatever the terminology you're using in your diocese right now. Yeah, clustered, familied. It's like all of a sudden we've turned into this, this other terminology. You know how busy he is, and you know that he would love to be doing all the things that we do, and you know he doesn't have the time, and you'd like to help him out. Try to, make nice first. Exactly, but, talk to him about how you would like to, and talk to you, be sure to point out that the rule says that you as president must appoint a spiritual advisor. That's the rule, and you haven't been living it in your conference, so the rule says you must do this. So you would like to appoint a lay spiritual advisor or some other person as spiritual advisor who's going to be with the Vincentians, who has more time to be with the Vincentians, who is Vincentian, who walks with Vincentians, who does all the stuff with the conference that he doesn't have time to do, and that you would like him to work with this person. Generally, Father's going to say, oh, thank God. Thank God they've taken that, But you need to work that. And if it comes down to really bad things, say Denise said. Denise said I'm supposed to do this.
You know how currently we're undergoing an update or revision of the Canadian rule and statutes? And my understanding is that is because CGI updated theirs, and so we might as well do it while we have to incorporate that. And I thought one of the things CGI said was something along the lines of, Father has to be given the first choice.
No, that's never been in our rule, never,
Okay.
never.
Denise,
Mhm.
just a petty little thing
Sure.
that I've not done, but apparently when we commission the installation of our spiritual advisor, they're to receive a pin.
This one,
Oh, do I just buy those
they're
here?
online. Yeah, please, order them online. They
And
cost a
you
couple of, yeah, you pin
you-
this, you pin your spiritual
Your
advisor.
spiritual
It
advisor.
makes it, yeah, in this section, there's, okay, where are we? Have you jumped ahead on me? You've just confused me, okay. Okay. This whole section, we're gonna jump past it. It gives you the guidelines, the rules, the duties, the whatever. Read it on your own, send us questions, we'll answer them, okay? Read that on your own. We're gonna go to, but we're gonna stop at the very end of this tab 1 section. What is a Vincentian spiritual reflection and how do I lead one? Ho ho. Okay, tell you what it isn't. It isn't a mini homily. Okay? a Vincentian spiritual reflection is not that thing about the Canada geese again. You know, it's not some nice thing about, it's not some nice reading that you stand up and you read, and at the end everybody goes, oh, that's beautiful. It's a selection from scripture, or from the rule, or from the writings of one of our founders. It's something that's brief. The one that Gord read today was, for me, way too long, but I thought it was so important that we needed to hear the whole thing. When I do them, I like it to be no more than a paragraph. Because a spiritual reflection is supposed to make people think, and it's supposed to evoke reflection and discussion. So if you look at that,
Question.
I use the one that's written by Lee Denise Bondi that said they don't.
most of those are too long. Yeah, most of the ones I write are too long. You can use a piece of it, sure. Condense it, because the stuff that I write for the webpage is pretty long. And it's commercial, it's once a month on the upper left-hand corner of the Ontario webpage. Most of those are too long. The end of a reflection generally has a question or two to evoke some discussion, the kind of thing that we did this morning.
The American site has,
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
SPDP USA is.
They have a lot.
Yeah, they have a lot of good reflections.
I tend to discourage people from using somebody else's formula just automatically. Like if you get the daily emails from FamVin, they have a weekly reflection based on the Sunday scripture. It's fine, it's good, but is it what your conference needs right now? What is your conference going through right now? Is your conference,
I'll speak to that. Sometimes I'll go to different websites and print off several different reflections and then pray over them to find which one is discern the one that's appropriate for this week, for this group. I mean, it's the same when you're giving a homily. The priest says, why is your homily three different ways, three different masses? And I say, because it's three different congregations. They need to hear something different each time. It sounds like a lot when we lay this all out, but we can't be afraid of this, because it's not a God of fear that we follow here. This is at the very core of who we are, and yeah, I think lay people can do this. Like, you're empowered to do this. Priest, prophet, king. We are all empowered by our baptism to do this. If God has given us that vocation to move forward. Now we need to pray about who those people are. And pray that the courage to say yes will be their answer. Because if that is their vocation, then they need to step forward and say yes. And if in prayer that person comes to mind and you go, wow, okay, so I know that person has a vocation. Now I need to encourage, empower, and move them forward so that they can say their yes to being that spiritual advisor for the conference or the PC or whatever level.
our current rule, the one that's being worked on to be changed right now, it isn't the rule, it's the rule and statutes of the Society of Canada. We say it's we shorten it by saying the rule, but the rule is technically the international rule. This is the rule and statutes of the Society of Canada. It says that the president shall, after consultation with other Vincentians or whatever, shall appoint. We always encourage, if you need to do this, if this is the job you need to do, pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. Get some other Vincentians to pray about it with you. You're the president, talk to your vice president, talk to your treasurer, talk to your secretary, talk to the other people around you who you trust and who you're in sync with. Get them to pray with you. Pray about it, and something will come to you. It doesn't matter whether it's discerning who you're going to ask to be your spiritual advisor, or whether you're the spiritual advisor and it's discerning what am I going to speak to, where am I going to find this topic. If you pray about it, it's going to come to you. God will give it to you. I trust that.
I think a lot of times if you just look at the scripture reading